Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope that everybody is having a great weekend so far, staying healthy, staying strong, staying productive. This is a members chat class, everyone, and it is a question and answer class. The goal, of course, is the know-how for those high band scores. For band 9, Carolina, welcome. Our moderator, Sammy, Rajveer, good to see our students and our members coming into the class. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com and gieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have lots and lots of materials to help you improve for your next IELTS exam, so check us out there. We also have apps. The app Academic IELTS Help will link to aehelp.com, and General IELTS Help will link to gieltshelp.com. Certainly check those out. And you can also follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEhelp and gieltshelp. All right, everyone, if you have any questions, and if we don't answer all of your questions, members, in this class, you can always send your question to me at adrian@aehelp.com, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Welcome, Akshay. Welcome, Nick Hill. So today we have this question and answer session, and then afterwards, in about 90 minutes, we will have a speaking part 3 where everybody will be able to join in on the chat. That will be an all chat class. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we will not have classes. That's usual. And then on Wednesday, the 21st, I'm back with speaking part 1. And then we have a full week of classes, and this schedule will be up on our YouTube community board. You can also see it in our Instagram profiles, so you can keep up with lesson schedules there. Now, today is a question and answer session, members. To begin the class, I will go over the essay that we were working on this week, the Task 2 essay, because I promised you yesterday that I would finish that and then we would have the whole essay to review. And if you have questions about the essay or about writing Task 2, then we can start with those. I think it's a good start point. So this was the essay question that we were looking at this week. I'm just going to go over it. Then I'm going to read the essay for you, and then we can discuss it. Okay, so here we go. The question is IELTS Task 2 writing. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. The education of young people is the main priority in many countries around the world. Some people believe that educating adults who cannot read or write is essential for society, and more funding should be made available for it. Do you agree or disagree? Write at least 250 words. All right, awesome. So we have our introductory paragraph. Again, it has 3 key elements: the hook, the background, and the thesis. So here we go with the introductory paragraph. Many countries still have a significant population of illiterate adults. The ability of reading and writing is a vital aspect of adult life in order to function well in society. Therefore, illiteracy is often strongly correlated with poverty. Consequently, I completely agree that nations should fund adult literacy programs, as these benefit both the individuals and society. And I'll put a comma here, and then it reads a bit better. All right, and then we have body paragraph 1. Body paragraph 1 is structured as a topic sentence, explanation, example, connection. Sometimes you hear supporting points instead of explanation or the example. Here we go. So spending taxpayer money on educating adults to read and write leads to an improved life quality and self-esteem. Most jobs in the world require employees to communicate by reading and writing. Without these skills, it is virtually impossible to make ends meet. Literate adults can earn money by gaining employment, and this also improves their self-worth through independence. And they can afford not only their sustenance needs, but also have money for entertainment and travel. After learning to read and write, a person can move from unemployment into a secretarial position where they earn $2,000 per month, which pays for food, shelter, and clothing, as well as an annual trip to Hawaii. This is one of two reasons why I support using government funds for further educating not only youth, but also adults. Okay, so hopefully everybody is with me so far. This is how far we got yesterday. And then after the class, I went ahead and finished body paragraph 2 in the conclusion. Now, body paragraph 2 is dealing with how literacy or literate adults not only are good for their own personal self-improvement, but also as contributing members of society, so improving society. So here we go. When adults become competent in literature, they can improve the overall efficiency and economy of the societies in which they live. The key to knowledge and development lies in the ability to read and write. When governments invest in having more literate adults, they also invest in having more scientists, engineers, healthcare workers, and teachers. These professionals are much needed to progress the social and technological status of nations, so there is a great return on allocating a budget for adult literacy. The secretary in the previous example may implement a new spreadsheet in their company that ends up saving millions of dollars. This type of contribution is the second reason that I am in favor of promoting education beyond childhood. Okay, so that's the second body paragraph, and notice how I refer back to the same example to emphasize how the individual has not only improved themselves, but the society or the community in which they are employed. And again, I have a concluding sentence here as well, which reflects back on that kind of contextual statement by the question. So the question starts with, the education of young people is the main priority in many countries. So that's what I'm reflecting on here. And then I have my conclusion, and the conclusion has my points restated, my arguments strengthened, and a take-home message. So to conclude, spending tax revenue and charitable donations on teaching men and women to read leads to positive personal and societal growth. Therefore, I am avid about such initiatives by authorities. Every member of a community should be given the opportunity to be literate, as this leads to prosperity and a win-win for all. Okay, so that's the conclusion. With a take-home message, we want to create those win-win situations. Okay, so any questions, members, about this essay, or perhaps you were finishing the essay for homework on your own and maybe you had some questions come up. So any questions, any inquiries about the information, about the language, about the structure, now's your chance. So this is a Q&A class. I want to give you a chance to ask about this essay, and then we can go on to more broad or general questions about the English language and IELTS. And I will do it as a kind of a first come, first serve. So whoever asks me the first question, I'll address that, second question, and so forth in order. Unless, of course, they're related. Then I'll try to make some connections. So any questions about that? I'm not sure if my chat might be stuck. I'll check that. Just a moment. All right. Okay. So any questions specifically about body paragraph 2 or the conclusion that we looked at yesterday? Okay, so no questions about the essay so far. If you want to ask a question about the essay afterwards, that's fine as well. If you're thinking about it. Sammy has a question. Sammy says, in listening and reading modules, if the instruction is no more than 2 words, I answered grandparents instead of grandparents, will I still get the mark? Probably not, Sammy, because grandparents should be 1 word, not 2 words. So you will not get the mark. Words that should be 1 word, if you write them as 2 words, is if it's not used that way according to correct English, you will not get that mark. Okay. So Rajveer is giving me feedback. Rajveer says, that's good composition. Yeah, so, I mean, that's a good question. We had that one listening question to Sammy where the answer is lifeboats is 1 word. So Sammy's question is, if I wrote grandparents and not grandparents, will I still get the mark? The answer is no. Okay, because you gave a wrong answer. Why? Okay, so what's the difference here? What's the difference between grandparents and grandparents? Can anybody tell me that? Akshay, Nikhil, Rajveer? There's a key difference here between these 2 answers. So the first one, grandparents, equals parents who are great. Okay, we would never actually say that because it would be confusing, but if you saw it written, saying grandparents means you're talking about not your grandfather and your grandmother, you're actually talking about your parents, your mother and father, who are really great, okay? Like a grand hotel or a grand vacation, okay? So, yeah, Rajveer is saying the first one is showing the quality of parenthood. So like excellent mom, excellent dad. And this is actually referring to grandma and grandfather. So yeah, exactly, Carolina. So this one would be great parents, not the actual grandparents. So you have to be really careful, okay? So be really careful. When the word is written as 1 word, you have to do the same. And I know that kind of seems unfair. I mean, native speakers sometimes get confused by this as well. So even we get confused like, oh, is that 1 word or 2 words? Okay. All right, Sammy, I hope that answers that. Okay, next question. So, any other questions? That was a good question, Sammy, about, the appearance of words. So if the question is no more than 2 words, you can write 2 words, you can write 1 word and 1 number, or it could be just 1 word. So the answer could just be grandparents as 1 word. Okay. Definitely don't write it as 2 words. It cannot be 3 words. It cannot be 2 words and a number. Okay. And oftentimes when they say no more than 2 words, many of the answers are still just 1 word, and maybe 1 or 2 of them will be 2 words, okay? Okay, Nikhil's asking, how do I use thereby, hereby, whereby in task 2 accurately, okay? All right, Nikhil, we'll address that. I was actually looking for some information to create the blog, but it looks like I'm going to have to write the whole blog from scratch. So Nikhil's question is, how do I use thereby, hereby, whereby in task 2? And you can even go one step further, Nikhil, and ask like wherein, herein, therein. Okay. So there's no simple answer for this, Nikhil. I could have a half a class or a full class on just this vocabulary. So all of this vocabulary is kind of unique. Okay. So these are all kind of unique words. So it's not like you can learn all of these in one sitting and then start using them. So what you should do, Nikhil, is actually just learn them individually. So learn these individually, okay? That's my first tip. Now, that's not to say that there isn't some connection among these. Some of them are closely connected, some of them not so much. Okay, so the word thereby equals in which or thus, for example, via a certain method, we could say as well. Okay. So it is a linking word. Okay. And you just simply have to learn it in context and practice it. Okay, so it's just another synonym for these kinds of linking phrases or words like in which and thus. Okay, so let me give you an example sentence. Okay. Okay, so millions of people take the IELTS exam, thereby they meet application criteria to immigrate to other countries. Okay, and oftentimes there will be a comma there. Okay, so it's kind of like saying millions of people take the IELTS exam, thus they meet application criteria to immigrate to other countries. Okay, so the way you can think about it is through this process or through this action. Okay, so that would be one example of using thereby. So then it's just a matter of practicing writing down some examples like this, and then also doing this for whereby and hereby, understanding their definitions, and then creating these example sentences, and then you're able to use it more in your writing and in your speaking. Okay, I will create a blog for this. It's on my to-do list. Okay, so okay. So I'll create a blog for these types of linking words and leading expressions, and then I'll share it. I'll put it up in Discord as well, so you can access it. Okay, and then practice it. Of course, when you practice and you create some example sentences, make sure to make them unique and include yourself. So. Like this, millions of people, including myself, will take the IELTS exam through this year, thereby meeting application criteria to immigrate to other countries. Okay, so by including yourself, including myself, you make it stick a little bit more in your mind, and you will be able to use it better. So millions of people, including myself, will take the IELTS exam this year, thereby meeting application criteria to immigrate to other countries. Now it's a little bit more effective. Okay. All right. Akshay, let's see. We got a couple questions before that. Okay, so Rajveer says, for Body 2, I have included the ideas of reducing poverty and funding for social security schemes, and it can be used for strengthening healthcare, transportation, education facilities, thereby prospering society. I would, okay, Rajveer, not bad. I would write it like this. Prospering as an action verb there is a bit awkward. You're using thereby correctly, but the verb prospering is a bit awkward. So I would write it like this, Rajveer. You're on the right track. You're just, I think, a little bit off. It's understandable, but I think it's a little bit awkward. So I would say thereby helping society to prosper. This would be a bit more natural to express it in this way. Okay? Yeah. And definitely the ideas are valid, Rajveer, for body paragraph 2. We talked about those during the planning phase as well, that when adults are literate, it reduces poverty, it reduces crime rates, and it enhances economy. I guess one kind of feedback I can give you there, Rajveer, is we can always look at the coin from two sides, so the argument from two sides. So by having literate adults, we can reduce poverty. Also, we can increase the economy, right? So you can say it in both ways. If I don't have time to express both sides, like reduce poverty, increase economy, I usually like to stick to the positive side, as I think it makes for a stronger argument. I hope that makes sense, right? So you could say literacy helps to reduce poverty, or you could also say literacy helps to improve the economy. Okay, so you could write both, okay, but if I don't have enough time to express all of my ideas from both sides of the coin, let's say, or both sides of the concept, then I like to kind of always go for the positive. I find it makes for better argument. It's a better form of rhetoric. So note that if there is not enough time to express an argument from both perspectives, it is usually better to express the positive perspective or positive viewpoint. I want to say something like that. So literacy helps to improve the economy. I'm sure there would be some philosophers who would argue this point with me, but this is my take on it for sure. And I think it leads to kind of a happier way or a sunnier way of looking at life if you're doing it that way. Okay. All right. And it's usually the more valid argument as well. Okay. All right. Akshay is asking, how can I improve complex grammar in speaking? Okay, Akshay, let's take a look at that. So how can you improve complex grammar in speaking? That's a good question. Okay. The first answer to that, Akshay, is you have to practice it. Okay. So, and you're probably like, well, that's obvious. That's not helping me too much, Adrian. That's fine. The other thing that you can do, or the other technique or strategy that you can do, and this will help you a lot, is to always include a subordinating conjunction at the end of your response. Okay, so try this when you're practicing for answers. Okay, so when you are practicing, always include a subordinating conjunction at the end of your answer to force you into a complex sentence, because this will increase your grammar range and fluency. However, do pay careful attention that you do not go off topic. Okay? All right. So my advice here for you, Akshay, is also my example. I just did exactly what I'm telling you to do. So notice here that I'm giving you the answer. When you're practicing, always include a subordinating conjunction. Now, subordinating conjunctions, you have to learn them, right? There's 4 categories: cause and effect, opposition, condition, and one more. So cause and effect using words like because, opposition using words like however, condition using words like when or if. The fourth one, is time. It's time after that, before that. So that's the fourth one. So force yourself into complex grammar by putting words like because. And oftentimes we actually drag our language out with these kinds of conjunctions. Okay, so I'm doing it here. So watch what I'm doing here. So when you are practicing, always include a subordinating conjunction at the end of your answer to force you into a complex sentence. And I could have just stopped there, but instead of stopping here, I added the word because. Okay, that's the key word here. And then I started to think of, okay, what's the reason that you want to do that? Okay, well, because this will increase your grammar range and accuracy and fluency. And then I immediately stuck another word in there, however, and then I forced myself to give some kind of an opposition or warning here. However, do pay careful attention that you do not go off topic. So instead of stopping my sentence here, okay, I added all of this part by forcing myself into more complex grammar through the use of these subordinating conjunctions. Okay? Does that make sense, Akshay? So, and you can practice that. So always practice that, because when you get confident doing this, then you will be able to create longer phrases with more complex grammar after 3 months of daily practice. Okay? So when you feel like, oh, I've finished my sentence, right away throw in some kind of subordinating conjunction and force your thoughts to continue. Now, the big danger, of course, is going off topic. So be really, really careful about that. All right? Okay? That will help you. Okay? All right. Any more questions? Sammy, don't be anxious about your speaking exam. Be confident. Practicing this will actually be really good. Also, when you're putting in these subordinating conjunctions, it's natural to drag out the word to think about what you're going to say. So it's okay to do this. When you are practicing, always include a subordinating conjunction at the end of your answer to force you into a complex sentence. Pause. Because, okay. And then pause. This will increase your grammar range and fluency. However, do pay careful attention. So people actually do that naturally. They'll drag these words, okay, and they'll stress them and really kind of put pauses on both sides because they're actually thinking about the information that is sensible to put afterwards, okay? Does that make sense? Everybody good on that strategy? It's a natural part of language. We do it all the time. I'm sure you realize that, oh yeah, I do that in my language. So I'm talking to someone, I give them an answer like, I can't come to your dinner party tonight because, and maybe you don't have a good answer yet, but you're like, well, because my parents asked me to join them for their anniversary dinner, right? So totally natural, okay? All right. Any more questions? Okay. Let's see. All right. Yeah, Rajveer, thereby ensuring the prosperity of society. Yeah, that's a nice verb to use. So ensuring as a synonym for guaranteeing. Yeah, that's a great way. That's arguably even better than saying helping society, okay, to prosper. Ensuring the prosperity of society. That's good too, okay? All right. Rajveer is asking for task 2 questions like, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Am I required to talk about each side by writing a separate body paragraph to present a contrast and support my side? Yeah, Rajveer, absolutely. Yes, that is the right way to do it. So if you feel that the advantages are more than the disadvantages, you should highlight that in your body paragraph. So you should say, although one of the deficits of A is this, the benefits are far greater because of this and this. So definitely you should present the contrast within the body paragraph, or you could do it with two body paragraphs, where in one you present what the disadvantages would be, and then in the next body paragraph you present that there are greater advantages regardless of what you've mentioned in the first body paragraph. So yes, you do present the contrast. Okay. All right. So the short answer there, Rajveer, is yes. So in task 2, asking do advantages outweigh the disadvantages, should I talk about each side? Answer is yes, you should. For example, although the disadvantage of commuting to work by personal vehicle is air pollution, the benefits of productivity and comfort are greater. Okay, so something like that. Okay, let me erase my scribble here. Obviously I don't see that on my laptop, that's why it gets stuck up there. Okay, so here we go. All right, so yes, you should. Although the disadvantage of commuting to work by personal vehicle is air pollution, the benefits of productivity and comfort are greater. Okay, someone might make that argument. You definitely want to present that and then explain it. Okay, the question's asking you for it, so you should. You should. In most cases, you should do some contrast. Now, does it mean that you focus on the disadvantage? No, you just mention it. You should focus more on what you actually believe is more. Okay? All right. Paulo is asking, how do I think quickly in speaking part 2 in the preparation time? It's a good question, Paulo. So okay, so how do you come up with good ideas quickly in speaking prep time? 2 quick answers for that. Okay, one is visualize the context, the situation. Okay, reflect. That's one. Okay, B, reflect on your own experiences. And I'll give you another one. C, think about what most people may answer. Okay, so let's say that we're talking about what we had this week. The question was talk about a tool you use to fix something. Okay, so see yourself fixing a chair, fixing your broken glasses. Okay, so take the information from your own life. Okay, think about what are objects around the home that commonly break, that you fix yourself, fixing your computer, for example. Okay, and then visualize those, and you'll come up with answers quite fast. All right? So you have to use the visual prowess of your mind. Okay? Rajveer says, okay, sir, a follow-up question. Which way is better, writing a full body paragraph for the opposite side or just including a few sentences of the opposite side in both body paragraphs for the side that I support? That's a very good question, Rajveer. To answer your question, it depends on the question. Generally speaking, it's better to do the few sentences about one side and then more sentences about the side you support in one paragraph. So it's called the argument counter-argument type persuasive essay. So Google it. I don't like using that so much, but yeah, so look into the counter-argument persuasive essay writing. So it is a complete style of persuasive essay writing. We've talked about the four kind of main categories of essay types. So you have descriptive, which is kind of the father of all. You have expository, you have narrative, and you have persuasive. And as many of you know, task 2 is a persuasive essay. So persuasive essay to convince, to argue an idea. Now, within the concept of persuasive essays, there are different subcategories. So different types of persuasive essays. And one of those is called a counter-argument persuasive essay. And when we talk about do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages or which is greater, we're actually talking about what's called counter-argument persuasive essays. And there are specific rules and techniques to write more effective counter-argument persuasive essays. So I highly recommend looking into that, Rajveer, to really get a lot of detail on what is recommended by experts, not just myself, on how to write good counter-argument persuasive essays. It's absolutely a skill. I remember learning it. I think we learned it in about grade 10 in public school, counter-argument persuasive essays, maybe grade 11. So counter-argument persuasive essays, in many cases, it is better to present one idea and then counter argue that idea within the same paragraph, but this does depend on the question and the author. Okay, so you're getting into some more technical type of writing here, and it starts to depend more on your rhetoric, on your style of argument. Okay, so I know that that's not the perfect answer that you're looking for, because it's not like, okay, there's just one way to do it. You get into a more subjective domain of writing. Okay. Yeah, Paulo, if you don't know the name of many tools, that's okay. Keep it simple. So even tools like scissors can be used to help fix something that's broken. Okay, so you can use scissors, glue, tape. Okay, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay, don't overthink it. Deepika, welcome back. It's great to have you. All right. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop and yeah, take that as your homework. Look into counter-argument essay writing or counter-argument persuasive essay writing. Okay. And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to be back in about 45 minutes with speaking part 3, which will be a continuation of that speaking part 2, talking about a tool to help fix something. So that was kind of a good way to end it on that note, because the next class will be about, well, fixing things. So Check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and glshelp.com for general IELTS, and you can use the code R4TYJ to get a 20% discount. Okay, so I'll give you that as kind of a last little bit there. Okay, I will be back shortly in 45 minutes. Hang around. That will be an all chat class, so everybody will be able to contribute to the chat. So if you're watching and you're not a member, it's totally okay. In the next class, you will be able to type in the chat. So I will see you shortly. Bye for now, everyone.